Good afternoon, Kavibal, and welcome to our house. For today's discussion, our topic would be on brain-based learning strategies that foster higher order thinking skills. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Place your questions on the comment box allotted during the session, and they will be addressed by our speaker later on. Share the video using hashtag LearnAs1PH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinar. Experience learning, Kavibal. And now, to proceed with our session this afternoon, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker. She graduated her college degree in the University of the Philippines, Baguio, and completed her academic requirements in the course BS Special Education in the University of the Philippines, Diliman campus. She completed her Master of Arts and her doctoral degree, one of the passers of the Career Executive Service Written Examination, and currently a member of the SED Consultative Group of the Department of the San Francisco High School.
So what's the importance of higher order thinking skills? Can we show to the next slide, Kia? Can we go to the next slide, girls, my angels? What happened? Okay, so all of us are. Of course, our goal is to create a whole-rounded individual through, I don't know, bagong-bago talaga. We are under the circumstances, we were forced to immediately adopt the 21st century classroom. And when we say 21st century classrooms, our learners are now in their homes so that they will be safe amid this pandemic. And despite this pandemic, we truly believe that education should continue. And so while we strive for education to continue, we'd also like to believe that we will be able to give quality education to our learners, no? Even if it's online or modular. So we all would like to believe that one day our students will become better learners despite them not being in the next Kia, please. So let's have a review of the inverted pyramid of the Bloom's taxonomy. As you could see in our slide, the basic W's being answered in the base, which are all questions that cater to remembering skills. But unfortunately, this is also be a dream for everybody. Gusto nating lumagpas doon sa base sana yung mga bata and go as far as creating, evaluating, and analyzing. If we are able to go beyond the 5 W's and H, mas maganda at we are very assured that we are creating quality learners who will be able to contribute to national development. And so with Bloom's taxonomy, I will not dwell too much on this because we have always been exposed to these skills with the taxonomy, Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. According to Papi and Yuati, the role of technology integration on modern learning is essential to optimize the acceleration process in higher order thinking skills. So even if we will be using technology in our school year for this new normal, it is important that the use of technology will still be able to gear our teaching methodologies, our strategies, in making sure that we accelerate processing and the achievement of higher order thinking skills among our learners. Okay, next please. I think we have a problem with our net. Medyo may delay yata, no? Kasi makulimlim. Okay, so according to Smith and Darvas in 2017, traditional and online classroom settings equally empower students to work, think, and act independently when they progress through Bloom's taxonomy. So that means regardless of the delivery mode, we still have to make sure that online classroom settings is as equally important with the traditional classroom in delivering the education to our learners. Importante na magagamit pa rin ng mga bata kahit na hindi direktang pumapasok ang mga bata sa ating paaralan, they will still be able to process learning and they will still be able to achieve the higher order thinking skills. Okay? Next, please. So in the new normal, DepEd has come up with MELCs, or the most essential learning competencies. But still, the 4 C's, which have been emphasized to all of us, they are all still geared towards the achievement of the higher order thinking skills, namely creativity. What's the next C? Communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. These 4 C's encompass all the other skills that have been emphasized through the Bloom's taxonomy. So if our students can create, solve problems on their own without being told what to do, if they are able to collaborate with others, if they're able to decide and discern what's right and wrong, and be able to express whatever solutions that they have undertaken to the society, then we can say that we are able to achieve our goal in creating productive citizens of the country. Next, please. So let's go, because it's brain-based learning, let's go to the different parts of the brain. Looking at it, hindi naman tayo mga doktor, no? But it's important that we know that these different parts of the brain have different functions to perform. And all of these, when they encompass, all of them will be able to contribute to maximum learning. So that means, if you could see the central sulcus, it divides the brain into 2 parts, the frontal lobe and the parietal lobe. So yung parietal lobe, they're all, the parietal lobe is concerned with sensory. Okay? Siya yung tumatanggap ng mga information from the environment. And the frontal lobe is concerned with the processing, no? With the problem solving, emotions, cognitive, with cognition. So that means in order for learning to take effect, we have to be able to tap and maximize the different functions of the different parts of our human brain. Okay, next please. So according to Glossary Education of Reforms, brain-based learning talks about the teaching methods, lesson designs, and school programs that are based on the latest scientific research about how the brain learns, including factors such as neuroscience and cognitive development. So that means how we design, how we create, how we write lessons, we always think of how we will be able to tap and how we will be able to achieve maximum cognitive learning because we know how the brain functions. So in that case, we just don't make strategies and approaches in teaching just because we feel like it. It has to be our strategies and our activities should always be based on the latest scientific research, particularly on how the brain functions, or how the brain works, and how learning occurs, because they should be based on scientific research. Okay, next please. So according to Marie Swan, advanced teaching method should also aim to increase speed and efficiency of learning. So brain-based learning is that the fastest way and the most efficient way of making sure that our students learn is by making use of strategies and activities that are brain-based. Okay, next please. And according to Sarah Heilman, the idea behind the concept is that learning is innate and linked to biological and chemical processes in the human brain. So that means if it's biological and chemical processes that we aim to maximize, if we will be assured that there is learning. Okay? Next, please. So how do we create effective e-learning through brain-based strategies? Let us see. So according to Sarah Salman, okay, the brain's time clock vary instructional activities. Okay? So the brain's time clock will only be good for 12 to 15 minutes of focused attention on passive learning. Ibig sabihin, pag ang bata, okay, sumobra na sa 15 minutes, you can only hold as much attention as much as you can, no? Hanggang 15 minutes. If you go beyond that on passive learning, it's very impossible for you to hold the attention span of a learner. Kaya you have to make sure that you provide varying instructional activities, and the activities should not last more than 15 minutes. So that, because according to scientific research, the brain can only take in so much information from 12 to 15 minutes. Okay, next. So another way of making sure that the strategies that we use are brain-based, we have to make sure that there is the principle of repetition. We have to make sure that information are repeatedly, okay, are repeatedly made so that this information will be able to strengthen the connections in the brain. But you do not just repeat out of memory. You repeat in different ways. The content has to be repeated in multiple ways. Hindi siya pwede yung ginagawa natin dati na pinapa-memorize yung multiplication table until they're able to parang repeatingly said lang. So pag natapilok yung bata, pag nakalabit, nakakalimutan na, no? Repetition in this sense is that we make sure that the information, the pieces of information that we transfer to our learners are repeated in different ways, so that this information will be able to we will be able to draw connections. Okay, next please. In active learning, it's important that we make them, the learners are energized and they move. Okay, importante sa kanila na gumagalaw sila habang nagproseso ng learning. Kaya may mga bata minsan na they have to stand up. You have to ask them to stand up, no? You have to ask them to move. It's important that there is continuous flow of energy, and they definitely learn by doing. They become energized. They stick with the content, and they learn more. Okay, next please. So, importante rin that learners are able to create images. We pair the concepts with meaningful images so that the people, our learners, can be able to make sense of what is the content all about. Hindi pwedeng basta na lang natin sinabi na, with the example, with physics, no, we discuss trajectory. Importante, they'll be able to imagine, by the use of images, they'll be able to imagine how trajectory works. Because you are able to provide good, powerful images in your discussion. And it will definitely increase the possibilities that the learners will be able to remember your concepts. Okay? Next, please. And ito, no? Remember, our learners are considered digital natives, and we are digital immigrants. So what am I trying to say here is, how do we make sure that whatever we provide to our learners are something new? and they were not just picked up in Google, or they were not just parang recap of everything that has been given to them. Remember, students appreciate whenever they are exposed to new experiences by games, by simulations, and this information, these pieces of information that you try to process to them are presented in new and meaningful ways, so that this unfamiliar context will be able to immediately grasp this unfamiliar context. Okay, next please. Ito, you can always if you can see, no, my presentation has always been colorful, because according to neuroscience, color is very important in learning. We activate a lot of sensory stimuli because we present colorful presentation. So color connects neuropathways, and people or learners, for this particular matter, learners immediately relate with colors more than verbal or textual cues alone. Okay, so importante na we give them presentations that are colorful, no? Okay, next. Then we'll go to automatic learning. Ang sinasabi dito sa brain-based learning strategies, automatic learning can be immediately, and these are incidental learning. Hindi lahat ng what we also, sometimes the environment are the information that we give them, but most of the time it's also the environment where they get the resources, where we present our stimuli. Okay, so they will enjoy learning if they will see that the environment that they are in is very much helpful to them. Kaya while they are at home, it's important that the environment that we offer to them, if there are parents listening to us, watching us, joining it, if there are parents who are with us in the seminar, it's important that the environment that we give them during our distance learning is as conducive and as stimulating. And you know what's important? The information or the learnings that our learners get from the teachers, there has to be emotions being attached to that. And they say, according to brain revisiting, emotions are important to assure learning. If emotions are felt by our learners, if the learners feel that this information, these pieces of information are relevant to them, that they will be able to use them in problem solving. They will be able to use these pieces of information in making them solve problems, in making them participate, in making their presence felt. If they are able to express their emotions because of their learnings, then we will be able to assure that in this transfer of information, so for D, we developing thinking skills. We develop learners who are able to process information that are given them, even if they are not in the class. They are able to differentiate what is fact from opinion. They are able to make use of this information to solve problems. They are able to participate in the discussions, in important decisions to be made in the family. They're able to understand what's happening in the real world because we are able to develop their thinking skills. And because in brain-based learning, we are able to develop these thinking skills, learning will definitely occur because we can see that they are able to express well whatever the emotions that they have, whatever solutions that they might be able to formulate on these current problem situations that they might be in. Okay, next please. Okay, so how do we merge the higher order thinking skills and brain-based learning? How do we do that? Remember, brain-based learning trigger triggers the achievement of higher order thinking skills. Remember also that when the learning of our learners, are all based on neuroscience, are all based on their cognitive development, we will be assured that they will surpass the base or the remembering base of the inverted pyramid. Hindi lang sila tanggap ng information. They will be able to use this information well and be able to create, analyze, and evaluate solutions to problems because they are assured that we are able to tap the different brain functions of our learners. Next, please. So what students' needs? Remember that our students' needs are diverse, meaning they all come from different schema. They all come from different family background. They all to understand learnings, different classroom situations in the last school year. So we should be able to address this, that we give them standard idea on how on what we expect them to understand and what we would like them to achieve at the end of the lesson. Next, please. Another is HOTS lessons should thinking tasks. So if we are able to improve order thinking skills of our learners, have that on based on the learning, we minimize giving our instructions to them. Mas maganda nga if we only give recommendations, but it's important that we only give recommendations if they ask. But definitely, as much as possible, we have to be very discreet. We have to minimize giving direct instructions. Next. And useful learning strategies should include rehearsal, elaboration, organization, and metacognition. Remember in the first part of our discussion on repetition, meron kasing tatlo yan sa repetition, no? Sa repetition, there are different ways on how we memorize, no? On how we create memories. One, out of urgency. Minsan, no, pagka kailangan natin, we are able to memorize numbers. We memorize our PIN in our ATM because it's urgent. Then we are able to memorize because there's association. So I'll give you a list of numbers. I'll give you a list of numbers and I'll tell you to tell me these numbers. You will it will be very difficult on your part, no? Unless these numbers are associated with you. But if we create meaningful information with this number, then you'll be able to memorize. That is why a part of your learning strategies should always include the rehearsals and the elaborations and the organizations of these ideas. You make sure that these learning strategies will cultivate practice. Hindi talaga nawawala yung cliche na practice makes perfect. But the practice should be in various forms, in multiple ways, so that the brain will be able to process this information. Remember, we have a saying that old habits die hard. And because old habits die hard, we have to make sure that we create meaningful information to our learners so that the brain will be able to process this information and retain this information to long-term memory. Next. And remember, scaffolding helps a student HOTS learning skills. So what's scaffolding? You go from basic to the complex. You make sure that the pieces of information that a learner has will provide better pieces of will provide a better and a stronger basis, a stronger base for other pieces of information. So we chunk knowledge into small bits so that they will be able to process this and we will be able to create scaffold of information. Okay? Remember sa scaffolding in a building construction, no? You have to make sure that the base of the scaffold is very strong. Otherwise, if you add some more levels on it, it will not hold strong. Okay? So it's important that we scaffold pieces of information in order for learners to achieve higher order thinking skills. Remember that the base of the Bloom's taxonomy, though it's the smallest, okay, but it should be, it is seen as the base. So therefore, you have to make sure that the basic facts are important prior going to other higher levels of thinking skills. Okay, next. Okay, I'd like to share to you what we have made in San Francisco High School. We tried to create a horizontal map of our competencies for week 1. No? Ibig sabihin, we tried to make connections of the 8 subject areas using 1 major lessons, but the competencies of each subject area will be contributing to the development of understanding the concept. Kaya ito ay brain-based learning. There's repetition, but there's the repetition of the information, but the activities are varying. If you could see on the competencies, no? So sa week 1, there's English 10, Science 10, Math 10, Filipino 10, AP 10, and ESP 10. Nasa ibang slide yung MAPE at saka yung TLE. But the main springboard will be the discussion of plate tectonic theory. But in this case, if you could see in our slide, we made use of the lesson in science so that the competencies in English on the use of information from news reports will be emphasized also. So they will have to make use of news information about eruption, no? So ano ang what's the most recent news that we might have in the Philippines? Remember, your information has to be relevant to them, no? So what's the most recent news about volcanic eruption? Remember, volcanic eruption is an example of the plate tectonic theory. So because we are able to specify from the very simple example of Taal volcano, the eruption of Taal volcano. So our grade 10 learners will be looking for information about news. They will look for a news article about the eruption of Taal volcano, and with Math 10, they will be asked to give the sequence of how Taal volcano erupted. So gagamitin nila yung kanilang remember in grade 10 math, they will be discussing about sequence of several consecutive terms. And the application to real life situations in Math 10 will be emphasized. These skills that they learned in Math 10, particularly on sequencing, will be emphasized, will be applied on real life situations when they are asked to, based from the learnings in their plate tectonic theory on how volcanoes erupt, and using a news article that they have read about the eruption of Taal volcano, they'll be able to sequence out how Taal volcano erupted. And in this way, also Filipino 10 and AP 10 and ESP 10 will be able to come up with activities that all pertain to eruption of Taal volcano. So what we're trying to say here is our learners will not be able to feel that they are burdened with so much information. They will not feel overwhelmed with the different information that they get. And they will see the interconnections of the 8 subject areas by horizontally mapping the competencies, avoiding the duplications, diba? Ibig sabihin dun sa kaninang discussion natin, no? Pinagawa na ng video dun sa isang subject area, pinagawa ko ulit ng video dun sa isang subject area. But in fact, in this example of a brain-based learning strategy, we are able to draw connections of the 8 subject areas while we minimize duplications of activities. Okay? Next. Example yan po. Yan. And then with MAPE, di ba, sa music, they are in the most essential learning competencies in DepEd, no? They will make use of the music styles and the music elements of the 20th century. So in our case, we will ask them to ask them to create an artwork about Earth lithosphere applying characteristics of modern art. Okay, so whatever they have learned from plate tectonics, they will create an artwork out of that. Okay, and another one sa TLE, hindi ko yata nalagay, they will identify the different kitchen utensils that may have been made out of volcanic eruption debris, di ba? Yung mga metals na nilalabas dyan. So it's important. What I'd like to share to you is these brain-based learning strategies that we would like to share through the enrichment activities of our learners. We are able to make sure that these enrichment activities are not really found in Google. Hindi nila mabibigay yung sagot, hindi nila makukuha yung sagot sa Google because these are novel, these are new activities. At the same time, we are able to see if our learners will achieve higher order thinking skills, if we are able to create their own artworks, if they are able to solve problems, diba? They are able to think critically when their opinions are shared, and they are able to collaborate with their classmates during the exchange of ideas on this particular enrichment activities. And most importantly, they are able to communicate to other people their artworks, their products of learning. Okay, next. Okay, so before we end, I'd like to share a few slides on reflections of a teacher on how we make sure that we employ brain-based learning strategies. Okay? One, please ask ourselves, no? Pag gumagawa tayo ng lesson plans, should I make someone learn or should I create an environment that encourages learning? So, based from the discussion that we have this afternoon, do we make learners learn or we just help them learn? Okay? We cannot forcibly tell them what to learn, what to pick up, because according to brain-based research, okay, the brain can only process information that are given to them. But what happens inside the brain is entirely unique in an individual. So what we make sure as teachers is we provide environment that will cultivate learning. We give activities where all these brain functions will collaborate and will perform, will maximize learnings of our learners. Next slide, please. Another question that you have to ask yourself, do I give them a sense of autonomy? Have you given opportunities for your students to decide? Or you have put them inside the box? Have you given opportunities for them to create their own problems, create their own solutions to a problem? Or have you given them the freedom to decide what particular part of the lesson that they would like to deal more? Or have you given them the time to process information? Okay? Baka masyado nating kinukulong yung mga bata. And if we ask them, if we force them inside the box, then we will not be able to cultivate their creativity. We will not be able to cultivate their analysis skills. What's important is they are given opportunities to solve their own problems. Okay? And that is giving them autonomy. Next, please. Do I balance challenges with learners' ability and time? Baka you have given them so much information that it has overwhelmed them already. Baka you have given so much that you have demanded so much time. Your activities have demanded so much time, and it has exhausted so much from your learners, no? You have to create that balance. In the end, you check on your activities. You check on your strategies. Am I giving my learners a well-balanced time for their studies, time for their family, time to reboot? Remember, our brains can only take so much. We have what we call the cycle, where we are only given, remember what we discussed earlier, we are only given up to 15 minutes. And that 15 minutes that we are able to capture the attention of our learners should be maximized. We should not be giving them the feeling of burden, the feeling of being overwhelmed with so much information, so much activity. Remember, the activities have to be relevant. They have to create emotional connection so that the brain will be able to process this new information and transmit this new information from short-term memory to long-term memory. Okay, next please. Another question. Do I encourage communication? This is one of the biggest problems of teachers, no, at times. They tend to give too much. They tend to be autocratic, that we forget because we have so much, we have little time, but so much information that we have to share to our learners, no? We tend to give them too much information that we forget to ask them how they feel about the new information that we give them. We fail to remind them that they may ask questions. And sometimes asking them if they have questions are just, out of habits. We just ask them because we out of curiosity we ask them, no, but they don't really feel that we are really interested to know their answers. Okay, so it's important that communication is open so that the child will have the confidence to express himself. The child will have the confidence to communicate. The child will have the confidence to give feedback to the information that we are giving them. Okay, next please. Do I celebrate a learner's milestones? Baka naman tipid na tipid tayo sa pagbibigay ng praises. Praises are as important as giving feedbacks. And in fact, I think we are able to inspire our learners if we give them praises rather than reprimands. And if our learners feel that we are with them for every step that they take in their path going in their path to learning, then I think it's important that our learners will feel that we are with them. Okay, next please. And let me share the quote of the day before we end this webinar for today. We think too much about effective methods of teaching and not about effective methods of learning, by John Carlos of SJ. Okay? So Totoo yan, no? Sometimes we tend to give too much emphasis on how we should be teaching and we forget to process how much learning will there possibly be. Okay? And with that, next slide. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Do we have still time for questions, Kia?
Yes, Ma'am Edna, thank you very much po. And it's now time for our question and answer portion. So first question po, ma'am, we have here from Miss Jackie Baltazar. How are
Yes,
we
Jackie.
going to encourage timid learners to participate or engage in an online class?
Okay. Remember, our timid learners are just waiting for opportunities, no? Sometimes, I think it would be important if we talk to them personally muna. Know our students well. They may not be able to be expressive when they are with their classmates, but I think they can express well if we give them our undivided attention. So, using our chat group, kumustahin natin sila, yung hindi muna nakikita ng mga kaklase nila, so that we pull them slowly out of their shell. And remember, there's the chat button where they can express themselves if they would not like to communicate verbally. Minsan kasi may mga bata, and we also have to remember this, that nonverbal communication is also a communication of our learner. Nonverbal communication is also a form of how our learners communicate to us. So importante, we know each of our students. If they are timid, if they are shy, we give them opportunities on how they will be encouraged to go out. However, meron talaga mga batang ganon, and we have to respect that. We just have to make sure that our learners know that we value their sharing. We value also their opinion, no matter how shy they are. Okay? Other questions, Kia?
Thank you po, Madam. Next question is from Jehan Dakanay. Ma'am, what kind of group works do you think works best for the high school students?
Okay. Ang group works kasi, remember the discussion that we had, no? It has to be varying. We cannot really give you specific group works. But what's important, remember the VAC approach: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile. These are the 4 sensory approaches that we may use in order for us to cultivate learning from our learners, no? If these 4, basically 4 stimuli are encouraged among our learners, if these 4 sensory stimuli are given emphasis in our group activities, I think we'll be able to generate learnings from our students. Okay? Remember the 4: VACT, visual, auditory. Visual is what they see. Auditory is what they hear. Kinesthetic is how much movement. And tactile is when they touch it. Okay? These 4, sa reading, importante yan. Sa math, importante yan. When we discuss fractions, di ba? From concrete to abstract. You show them visually VAC. We show them that fractions are equal division of a whole. Okay? And auditory, nakikita nila, naririnig nila when you say this is 1/4. Okay? Kinesthetic is they feel, they move when they cut the apple into a half. Okay? Into halves. When they cut the apple into halves, nararamdaman nila yung paghati doon sa apple. And tactile, they are able to feel the difference between a half of an apple or a 1/4 of an apple. So VAC yun. Okay? And then when we create group strategy, group activities, even if it's pandemic, we make sure that the group that we will create are very much guided while we ask them to interact on small groups. Okay? Next, Kia.
Okay po, ma'am. Then our next question po is from Miss Mary Grace Cito. Is it okay to add our students in social media for communication purposes?
Yes, ma'am. However, I suggested my teachers in San Francisco High School, you create an account that specifically informs your students that you are there as a teacher. So that you are available to them because Facebook and other social media platforms are very important nowadays in communication. So it's important that they know that they can easily reach out with you making use of FB. However, para naman there's a distinction of your personal life and your professional life, I suggest that you create another account specifically only for your learners and for your parents. So, pwedeng dalawang account. Yun yung pinagagawa ko ngayon sa mga teachers San Francisco High School. Okay, next, Kia. I think we can answer other questions pa, no? Still have so much time.
Yes po. Yes po, ma'am. Next question po is from Rain Ramos. What are the limitations of brain-based learning on an ODL mode of delivery?
What brain-based learning is saying to us is all the strategies that we use, may it be traditional or may it be online or distance learning, what it's telling us is it has to make sure that we make use of the different functions of the brain in order for us to maximize learning. What limitations do we have in the use of our brain functions? Basically none. We just have to make sure that the strategies that we employ in the ODL are in fact new and cultivating and inspiring our learners. But basically, to ask us of the limitations, what's the limitation of a human brain is the limitation of ODL. So how you explore the possibilities of learning, making use of brain-based learning strategies is beyond. Okay? It's beyond. It's really our creativity in coming up with strategies, but making sure that the strategies are brain-based, meaning we make use of the different sensory motors of our students. We make use of their VAP, diba? We make use of their communication skills. We make them talk, we make them hear, we make them listen, we make them feel, and these are all important in making sure that the processing of the information that we give them through the different strategies are all processed, are all maximized, that all contribute to maximum learning.
Okay po, ma'am. Then for our next question po, it is from Angelica Fortuna. How can teachers change the classroom environment to influence, for a while lang po, to influence the way their students learn, especially to a new normal setup?
Okay, so one, it's important that we talk to our parents. We give them ideas on what's a conducive environment, what's a conducive home during an online class, what kind of environment contributes to maximum learning. And so with this, it's really important that we partner with our parents. No, I suggest that prior the opening of your class, you reach out to the parents and come up with a week of capacitating our parents, capacitating our parents on how they'll be able to assist our learners right in the comfort of their very homes. Importante yon, no? At kung ano yung the learners will tell us, let them tell us what kind of environment they would like to see when they are in an online class. Tanungin natin sila. They have to be able, we do not dictate them what kind of environment that they would like to have so that they will be inspired to learn, but rather, this is the time that we ask our learners, ano ba ang gusto mong itsura ng lugar kung saan ka mabilis matuto? Gusto mo bang may music? Gusto mo bang maraming pagkain sa harap mo? Gusto mo ba malinis? O gusto mo bang malayo sa mga tao para nakakapag-concentrate ka? It's actually an environment that is conducive for learning is actually designed, should actually be designed by the learners themselves. So tayo, on our part, we cannot really tell them, oh, ito ang conducive environment. Dapat ganitong itsura nyo. Meron kayong ring light. Dapat meron kayong, we cannot really dictate. We cannot really impose what's a conducive environment for the learners. I think it's about time that we have a reboot on that. Diba? Brain-based learning strategies. According to what we have discussed earlier, no, it's really the individual learner who will process this information. And if for him, that is how he learns, if music, the presence of music, of his favorite songs will help him cultivate learning. Mas maganda ngayon kasi wala namang madidistract na mga bata na iba pang mga klase kung gusto niyang may tumutugtog. However, we just also have to remind we still have to remind our learners, no, that we have certain class norms that we might be giving emphasis so that there will be still order in our online class. Okay? Next, Kia.
Okay po, Madam. Then our next question is from Miss Dina Miranueza. The question po, ma'am, is, Doc, are there ways to use brain-based learning for SPED students in high school level?
Yes, ma'am. Marami po tayong brain-based learning strategies for SPED. Ang importante dyan, we capacitate whatever, Ang importante dyan, we make use of their skills that are important. Meron tayong en-routing activities, no? Of course, yung brain-based learning, the assumption is they have, the learners have complete brain functions. Sa mga SPED, we try as much as possible to cultivate. Remember, ang brain natin, we have dendrites and axons. So we try to create more dendrites and axons, no, by engaging them to different strategies. Natatandaan niyo yung kwento sa atin, no, yung tiningnan nila yung brain structure ni Einstein at maraming kulubot, maraming dendrites. And these dendrites and axons, they create on their own. So yun yung gagawin natin. If we create learnings, the brain may possibly producing more dendrites and axons. So does not matter if a part of the brain of our learner does not function that much. We just have to do some routing activities that will contribute to their maximum development. Okay?
Okay po, Madam. As much as we want to answer all the questions from our viewers, it's now time for us to end our session. Ayan po. But before we end, Madam, do you have any final reminders or final words for our viewers po?
Invite ko muna sila doon sa aking YouTube channel, The Principal's Kitchen. It's entirely a different Edna Banyaga there. It was flashed just look up at the YouTube channel, The Principal's Kitchen. You can use these strategies also in discussing. These are brain-based learning strategies. Diba? We provide them experiences. But anyway, it's important, what's really important to our dear teachers, our dear learners, it's really important that we explore all possibilities of how our learners will learn. We may have a different environment nowadays. We may have a different classroom. We may have a lot of worries. But what's important as teachers, we explore different possibilities. We maximize the social media, whatever online learning we can possibly provide, as long as the heart and the mind come together in order for us to give our learners the best possible education despite this pandemic. Remember, our learners need teachers more than ever. They need our guidance more than ever, because we might never know if in the future we have created very good, responsible, productive citizens because we are able to give them the learnings and the education that they deserve. With that, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining Vibal. Thank you for being with me for the last 1.5 hours. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
There we have it. Thank you so much, Doc Edna, for this very insightful session you had with us this afternoon. Of course, Madam, it is an honor for us to have you again with us during our YouTube learning session. And to all our Kavibal viewers, thank you so much for your continuous patronage to our daily learning sessions. We hope to see you for the remaining sessions we will be having tomorrow and on Saturday. See you again. Thank you very much and have a great day to everyone.